and on Zingo TV on Chromecast and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Please remember to download both the BarnBurner and Zingo TV apps in the respective app stores. Both are free on both iOS and Android devices. While you're using, please remember to rate and leave a comment so we know that you're enjoying them and getting the most out of your usage. So, on today's episode of the experience, I am really pleased to be of the now of the Syracuse Crunch for the American Hockey League, formerly of the Kitchener Rangers and Oshawa Generals. He should be joining hopefully in just a little bit. So until he actually joins, I was hoping for a roundtable as well with Greg Morales, but it doesn't seem as if I'm going to get him today. So I should be getting Sarah Noel fairly soon. I will keep tuned on that through the next, 10 minutes or so. But let's kind of go around the horn with some OHL related news as it pertains to this upcoming season, because we are seeing some supposed to function. And to answer that question, it's kind of a tricky one. So here's kind of how this is all supposed to work out. So we start, I think, with what we're going to do is we're going to start with Zayde Wisdom, who is with the Philadelphia Flyers. He was invited for selection camp. So that's what we're going to do. So actually, no, we're going to start with Francisco Arcuri instead. So the Kingston Frontenac sent Francisco Arcuri overseas after the OHL indefinitely delayed their season due to the ongoing situation that is the novel coronavirus known as COVID-19. So that being said, Arcuri debuted with H.C. Pustertal, and in his Alps HL debut for the Steel Wings, the Steel Wings Linz, Francisco Arcuri scored 2 goals and picked up an assist, and the last place Steel Wings lost 7-3 to the league-leading HC Pusterol. So just a quick note there. Now, something to keep in mind with that is that Arcuri can be recalled to the Kingston Frontenacs at any time. Again, there's absolutely nothing at all booked in terms of the Ontario Hockey League and a restart of any kind. So how that's going to go remains to be seen. So that said, let's continue onwards. Now, Zayde Wisdom, like I mentioned, is the one that I really wanted to pay more attention to. He is with the Philadelphia Flyers, or at least was with them for their training camp process the last 10 or so days. And he really impressed as a young kid. And given that the OHL, much like the WHL, is on delay, here was the agreement that had come to terms with. So that said, the OHL and or rather I should just say the CHL and the AHL came to this interesting deal, whereas kids who are, I believe, 18 and older are eligible to have the ability to play in the AHL until their league returns to action. Once their league returns to action, that players return to where they came from. So in this case, Zayde Wisdom returns to the Kingston Frontenacs. So right now, it sounds as if he will be starting the season in the American Hockey League. Should the American Hockey League get going before the OHL books its return. So that being said, head coach Alain Vigneault spoke about Wisdom after being impressed by him throughout this process, and to which he said, again, like I just opened saying, I've been impressed by him, his skating ability, his feistiness, NHL are 2 different leagues. I don't want to speak for Zayde. I thought he looked great out there. He works hard. You know what he brings. He brings a heavy game, and I thought he looked totally normal. So what Sam Carchidi said, he is with the Philadelphia Inquirer, I believe. Yes, he is. The Philadelphia Inquirer. So he said, if the OHL comes back, Flyers players from that league will go there. If not, they are allowed to stay in the AHL. So again, it does seem as if he will start with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Again, that has the ability to change, but as of right now, that is the game plan. So Wisdom again put on a really solid camp, and so we're going to see what the process looks like from there on moving forward. So that said, let's move onwards. More news. Is in the OHL and placed sixth in the league with 43 goals and finished second on the team with a career high 74 points in 61 games last season and was selected by the Blackhawks in the sixth round, 172nd overall of the 2020 OHL entry draft. Or sorry, that was the NHL entry draft this past summer. At the conclusion of the season, the Whitby, Ontario native was awarded the team's most sportsmanlike player award and Iron Workers Local Union number 3-star award, and is only the 14th player in team history to score 40 or more goals in a season. Blackhawks forward Alex DeBrincat is the only Otters player to score 40 or more goals in multiple seasons. During his 3 years with the Otters, Yetman totaled 147 points on 73 goals and 74 assists in 185 games. So for more on this, you can go to icehogs.com, again, where he will join for the start of the season. So let's continue onwards because we've got more news. Now, this was noted from Stephen Ellis today, and he is with the Hockey News. He's appeared on a lot of different shows, at least today, that is. The Cooley Show, We Sports Chronicles podcast, his own show on the Hockey News, CTV, and so certainly a lot to note. Anyways, that said, and I'm actually going to start because this is with Cap Friendly. Cap Friendly, I was actually one to report that it would appear as though both Dylan Cousins and Jack Quinn have both made the 23-man roster for the Buffalo Sabres this year. Casey Middlestat was placed on their taxi squad along with Will Borgen, Rasmus Asplund, Brandon Davidson, and Jonas Jonsson. So Stephen Ellis noted that Jack Quinn making the 23-man roster for the Sabres would definitely surprise him, but he notes that this is a kid who continues to prove so many wrong. He says very happy to see him succeed so early. And Jack Quinn was the leading goal scorer in the Ontario Hockey League this past season. He scored 52 goals, which certainly is a landmark milestone, having done so with the Ottawa 67s, which he did with Marco Rossi on the team as well. Marco Rossi now set to play in Austria, at least for the time being. And then he might join the Minnesota Wild. But he is injured right now. So, you have to take things with a certain grain of salt to that note. Anyways, that all to be said. Stephen L. said, here's a piece I wrote prior to the World Juniors about Quinn always finding a way to show value when you don't expect it. Now, he was selected number 8 from Buffalo. And he was one of the best goal scorers in the class. So him joining alongside Dylan Cousins, again, certainly impactful to say the very least. This is a really cool experience for these boys to be a part of opening night for the Buffalo Sabres. Their opening night, I believe, gets going tonight. I can confirm that while continuing to go through news. So that being said, let's continue to take a deeper look at both these players, both of whom played in the World Juniors this year for Team Canada, which is really a significant marker. So that being said, I will note that the head coach, Ralph Kruger, said just a little bit ago, Buffalo sports world is in a good place right now. We want to keep that momentum from the Bills going here in Sabres land, and I think that's certainly doing that. So they held their last practice just within the last hour. So that being said, Cousins will with Eakin and Skinner. Meanwhile, Quinn is going to be playing with... Sorry, I don't see him in today's lineups. Give me just a second here. Let's see what's going on. Where did they put Quinn? Quinn might not actually be a starter. Interesting. So, anyways, we're gonna continue to figure out why that is, what that looks like. But anyways, that all to be said, the Sabres start tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time against the Washington Capitals. So something to keep an eye out for with two youngsters with lots of talent in store as they get set for what should be a very strong and successful season. Again, Quinn probably won't last the entire year, nor will Dylan Cousins. They will both be sent to their respective spots, but the WHL, much like the OHL, is on indefinite shutdown. So, something that you want to certainly keep noted. Anyways, that being said, let's take a look overseas again, where the Sudbury Wolves sent a pair of players, just given, again, the ongoing situation due to COVID-19. Ben Leeson of Post Media says that Sudbury Wolves forward Blake Murray had a goal, and defenseman Jack Thompson recorded an assist in their debut for Surahammars IF of Hockey Etten in Sweden on Sunday. That is with the Allsvenskan League. Hope I said that right. Now, Wolves defenseman Adam Samuelsson also had an assist in Hockey Etten. And so we are going to probably be seeing a couple more players, headed in different directions, and that's just going to be, the lay of the land and the way it is. So again, that's Blake Murray along with Samuelson, and here, let me get the names again. That Blake Murray and a couple of his teammates who are overseas right now. And again, that is Adam Samuelson and Jack Thompson. So we'll see how long they end up sticking around. Again, once the OHL figures out their plans, one figures that they will take a flight back to Canada. From there on, we see how things progress. But that being said, it could be a couple games into the season where the players return, as they are starting to get the pro experience before they go on back to their roots in Sudbury. So that being said, on another foot, Quinton Byfield, Tobias Bjornfoot, and Arthur Kaliev were all added to the LA Kings practice group as of January the 11th. In addition, both Alex Turcotte and Martin Ferk have lower body injuries and are listed week to week, hence all three being named. Now, they've been skating with the Los Angeles Kings. And so, Byfield is likely to start the season with the Kings, all things considered, as that season gets going again tonight with NHL opening night, which I will as well do all this OHL prep. We'll try and get you set for. Big picture being an exciting time, and a lot of these players are going to get an opportunity that's that you're not really going to get elsewhere. So I think that's really special. And so that being said, let's continue onwards because we do have a little bit more. Then I'll start getting to some reading and other things. That being said, let's take a look at some OHL priority selection watch lists Ontario skaters for this coming season. Again, that list will be shared in different on some really outstanding talents from around the GTHL, from the Waterloo Wolves to the Toronto Nationals, the Toronto Marlboros, to the Mississauga Reps, to the Nepean Raiders, the Vaughan Kings, Ottawa Junior Senators, the Junior Predators, the Junior Spitfires. So I'm not going to go through all of them, especially because I'm not familiar with a lot of them. But again, there's the second that one draft ends, another one starts in the preparation aspects. So just something that as followers of the Ontario Hockey League and those surrounding being the W and the Q, something to certainly keep tabs on. And again, this is something that scouts of all kinds do. The second tournaments end and another season ends, they get right down to their other job, and that's figuring out the next year. So we continue onwards now with some other news and notes. So I'm going to touch on some World Juniors things. Now, I didn't really think I would be, but we're going to be doing that. So I think what we're going to do to start actually is this. Now, this is from the Ottawa Senators last night. Following an exciting IIHF World Junior Championship tournament with his national team, Tim Stützle has decided to use the German spelling of his last name on his jersey and other team-related items, which includes the 2 dots over the U, whereas there were talking plans about perhaps not doing that. So, anyways, just something to certainly keep on top of mind is that a lot of these World Junior players as well are getting different experiences. Stutzla made his debut with the Senators at training camp at the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa a couple of days back. So it presents him with the chance to get going on North American ice for the very first time. Pro here, and I think that that's going to be certainly really special. And that being said, we're going to move on to other things. Again, still hoping to be joined this afternoon by Sarah Noel. I'm told he hasn't yet showed up, so we're just going to continue onwards with today's update. So, anyways, let's move on. Now, the World Juniors. Carpat announced that Toby Niemela from Toronto will miss 3 to 4 weeks due to an undisclosed reason, an unfortunate situation. Many were looking forward to seeing how Niemela would have looked after a fantastic World Juniors tournament with Team Finland, joining the Toronto Maple Leafs, at least for camp and maybe the start of the season. So he is out and will not be joining Toronto. Toronto gets going tonight against the Montreal Canadiens at the Scotiabank Arena in downtown Toronto. Something to keep in mind as we continue to get you set for what's supposed to be a fantastic opening night, and something, again, to kind of distract us from the fact that we are now officially in lockdown, and that's not going to help the Ontario Hockey League's return to play, as we are in a state of emergency, and now our government has the ability to overhaul anything and prolong it, but again, we don't really even know what that looks like yet, so we'll continue to wait and see. But the Ontario Hockey League certainly not making any rush to return, understandably so. They want to do this right. Question is, will they be able to, and how does that look? Now, again, there were some details I said last week that were obtained as to what a season could look like, with some bubble talk, at least, being touched on to to some degree. Now, not much has been said to that when a return does happen. And something else you have to think about is, in the case of a bubble, where would they do it? What does that look like? What does that, mean for each team? For the players, for these are young kids, not pros, are they able to stay away from home for a long period of time and just focus on playing hockey, along with their education, which many, again, are still enrolled in online. And again, schools are closed in many parts until at least February 8th, I believe it is. So certainly no rush on that end. So lots of time to hotels will go to education and exercise. Meanwhile, on the ice, it'll be some details remain unknown. So we will continue to keep tabs there as we continue to go along. So anyways, all that to be said, we're going to touch on some other news and notes from around the Ontario Hockey League, as I think it's important to do so, just given where we are now. Now, the one thing I'll note as we continue to move along is that Caden Gooley from the WHL, on another note, will join the Laval Rocket of the American Hockey League, playing out of the Bell Center this season, as the team was not given the clearance to play at their own home of Place Bell. Caden Gooley will return to the Prince Albert Raiders of the Western Hockey League when it is safe to do so, and the team is able to start up their season again. So, again, with the border being closed, this is the situation at hand. So, again, this isn't perfect, and it's not going to be for a while, and we just kind of have to accept that this is the way it is, and hope that we get back to something near normalcy in the near future. So, that being said, the Winnipeg Jets have reassigned forward Cole Perfetti from the Saginaw Spirit to the Manitoba Moose of the AHL. Go figure. Again, with the OHL season not happening, they've also signed defenseman Ville Hinola to the Manitoba Moose. He played with Team Finland at the World Juniors, while Perfetti played with Team Canada at the World Juniors. Now, Perfetti spoke yesterday with the Winnipeg media and actually handled it like a complete pro, and really impressed me. So I'm going to see if I can find those quotes, because he really spoke like a gentleman, and I think that that's something to keep in mind when you're looking for the next round of pros, because the things you're looking at are not just within how a player actually approaches the ice, but it's how a player approaches the media as a gentleman. And I think that that's something certainly to behold. That being said, let's go to Cole Perfetti's quote. So a thoughtful Cole Perfetti says that words can't describe what it meant for him to play for Team Canada. He said, to come up short, it hurt. I still believe we were the best team in the tournament. We had played one bad period. Now, you're at eights for the Athletic said credits that he credits the USA for jumping on it. Now, further moving on to that, he said what he's been up to since winning silver. We all kind of flew our different ways early the next morning. I was fortunate enough to take time with my family, celebrate Christmas and my birthday. Says he enjoyed every minute and really appreciated the opportunity to be at the World Juniors with Team Canada under Andre Targhini. Perfetti arrived in Winnipeg Sunday afternoon. He got tested and will be ready to go on Monday. He says Winnipeg strength coach provided him with the kettlebell, some bands, and some workout plans for his limited resources during quarantine. Now, Cole Perfetti, speaking to the future, said, quite frankly, I'm not sure what's going to happen, where I'm going to end up, or where I'm going to play. The AHL option if the OHL doesn't go, but his goal is to make the NHL as fast as possible. Now, again, we know that he's now not made the NHL and will start in the AHL with the Manitoba Moose. However, he will be playing still out of the Winnipeg Jets home arena. On knowing that he'll be skating on NHL ice with NHL players in less than a week, Perfetti says it's almost hard to believe. He says a dream come true. Perfetti's anxious to get out on the ice. He's anxious to get to know everyone and get up to a high level as fast as he possibly can, something he continues to, push himself on and strive towards. I think that that's really, a noble note of his character, and something that the Saugatuck Spirit have mentioned, that he's really that kind of motivated player. And so Perfetti, there was an article about him, and I believe this was from a good friend of mine, Stephen Ellis, who wrote that he was very disappointed with himself last year after not making the roster from selection camp to go to Ostrava and Trinek for the World Juniors. And so he used all that as hunger to get stronger, get better, and have a better season in the OHL, though he had already impressed in the OHL with more than a handful of goals. Then he made the World Juniors this year. So hard work pays off, and it's certainly showing in different ways. So something to keep in mind. Meanwhile, other news, Greg Morales remains with the Greenville Swamp Rapids in the ECHL. He was supposed to join are temporary elsewhere and will return again when able to. So again, that is a really a high achievement when you see players from the Ontario Hockey League, Western Hockey League, and the QMJHL go elsewhere to start their pro careers, or B, just training / selection camps, and strive to be their very best. And I think that we're going to see certainly a lot of that moving forward. Again, when you look at Zaid Wisdom, Blake Murray, Sarah Noel, Greg Morales, who again is with the Greenville Swamp Rabbits in the ECHL, and he's continuing to thrive there. The team is certainly building around him, to say the very least. So, just a couple of notes to keep in mind. Meanwhile, Thomas Harley is with the Dallas Stars and is likely to return afterwards to the Mississauga Steelheads, but will start the season with the Texas Stars in the American Hockey League. So just some other, notes to be aware of. Now, that being said, the Guelph Griffins on January 7th added defenseman Tristan De Jong from the Moncton Wildcats of the QMJHL. Now, this kind of thing usually doesn't happen where you go, or at least not now, or this close to what could be some sort of season. Again, remains to be unknown. But in a pandemic, just going to school, not the worst idea. And the Guelph Griffins, again, they're not playing. The OUA doesn't have a season this year, so that choice kind of hard to understand. Meanwhile, other notes from around the Ontario Hockey League. And just in case I didn't mention it last week, The Western Hockey League is committed to a 24-game regular season schedule for 2020-21. That release came out last week. I'm just going to check my calendar to make sure I hadn't touched on that. No, I hadn't. So I will get into that press release in just a moment or two. However, Joey Batano, who is the voice of the North Bay Battalion, says that Let's Go Canes, being the Carolina Hurricanes, have assigned Brian Suzuki to Chicago in the AHL. Suzuki will be returned to the Saugatuck Spirit when the season begins, he can confirm. So that being said, once Ryan suits up for a game, the Wolves will have officially had both of the Suzuki brothers on the roster. Nick joined the Wolves after his OHL season ended in 2017-18 and even got into a playoff game. So something to note there. So let's continue to move onwards now. Apologies. As we get into the press release from the Western Hockey League ahead of their plans for the upcoming season. Again, a status on Sarah Noel yet to show up. So might have to have him on next week if he doesn't show up in the next 25 minutes, or give or take. So before I do that, let's take a look at the top scorers from the OHL and the World Juniors. I think that's probably an important thing to touch on as we continue just to make some final last-minute World Juniors remarks. So that said, the Canadians are really took a force to be reckoned with, as many can imagine. Connor McMichael was in first with 7 goals and 8 points, followed by Arthur Kaliev of Team USA with 7 goals and 8 points, tied with him. Again, McMichael from London, Arthur from Hamilton. And then behind him was Quinton Byfield from Sudbury with 7 goals, 7 points. And behind him, Philip Tomasino, 7 goals, 6 points. And then behind him, Cole Perfetti, 7 goals, 6 points. Igor Afanaseyev behind him with 7 goals and 5 points from Russia and the Windsor Spitfires. Then back to Canada for Jack Quinn with 7 something for them to hang their hats on proudly rather than walking away upset with the silver medal. They played their very best. All teams put in one heck of an effort. Meanwhile, I should note that Jamison Reese played the Carolina Hurricanes scrimmage on Monday. He was wearing number 81. There's no current status knowing what they ended up doing with him. I believe he's joining the AHL for the start of the season. I can try and confirm that for next week's episode. So that being said, let's again go back to the release from the Western Hockey League now. Who announced that they have a plan in place to return for the season. So the release reads, the Western Hockey League announced today that the WHL Board of Commissioners or Board of Governors has made the commitment to play a WHL 2020-21 regular season. The start date for the season will be determined once final approval has been received from the health authorities in each provincial and state jurisdiction, and it is anticipated the approvals will be received soon. All models and schedule formats are being considered by the WHL to ensure a WHL season is provided for the players. The 2020-21 WHL regular season will consist of 24 games. In a statement from Rob Robison, who is the commissioner of the WHL, he said the Western Hockey League is committed to providing a season for the WHL players. This commitment ensures WHL players will receive the opportunity to compete at the highest level in the system and continue to pursue their hockey goals in the world's finest development league for junior hockey players. So we'll continue to find out what happens there. Meanwhile, on other notes from just around the CHL, the Edmonton Oilers had a huge shakeup within the last couple days to their broadcasting team for the season, as 2 of their voices were moved over to Sportsnet. So as such, longtime Rebels voice, and this is Cam Moon, has joined the Edmonton Oilers, leaving the Rebels. He leaves some memories and mixed emotions. So that story at the WHL.ca. Broadcaster Cam Moon, again previously the Rebels hockey, will step into the radio booth and take over play-by-play duties for Oilers regional games during the 2020-21 season. So again, a really awesome time for the CHL in the midst of a shakeup for the NHL broadcast to only continue to get better and better. So again, fantastic to see, and excited to see what the future holds. So that being said, we're going to continue to move on things because we still have a couple notes to get to, and I think we're gonna have just enough time to get through just about everything. So that being said, the Florida Panthers sent their first group of players down to the Syracuse Crunch of the AHL after announcing their partnership with them after their AHL team opted not to play for the season. So that being said, the Panthers announced on Saturday the assignment of 5 players, being forward Henry Bolby and Sarah Noel, and defenseman Jake Massey, John Ludvig, and Max Gilden. The Panthers are sharing an affiliation in Syracuse this season, along with the regular parent club Tampa Bay. Florida opted not to field its AHL farm team in Charlotte for the season, who tallying 13 goals and 16 assists. Sorry, it says Oshawa Rangers. That is incorrect. Noel was selected by the Panthers in the second round, 34th overall at the 2018 NHL draft. Again, this is Sarah Noel, who was selected by the Florida Panthers in the second round, 34th overall at the 2018 draft, after a tenure with both Kitchener Rangers and the Oshawa Generals in the Ontario Hockey League. So, he's the only one of these 5 played in the Ontario Hockey League. Ludvig played in the WHL with the Portland Winterhawks last season, where he tallied 17 goals and 45 assists, and he was selected by the Panthers in the third round, 69th overall at the 2019 draft. So the Crunch is expected to play 32 games in this coronavirus-shortened season against only Rochester, Utica, and Wilkes-Barre Scranton, which might be a little bit boring, but, this is what we're going through. It is what it is, and hopefully back to normalcy next year. So the schedule has not yet been announced. Stay tuned to the AHL.com as they continue to finalize their return plan and their protocols for this season. So that being said, we continue along with some other OHL notes as we continue along. There are a couple of quick stories from the Post media that I am going to get into. That being said, a really warm sentiment from the Mississauga Steelheads, who will provide an update on Thomas Harley again. Like I mentioned, starting the season with the Texas Stars in the AHL, they said, "We would like to congratulate Team Canada and Thomas Harley on a great World Junior Championship. Battling through a 19-day quarantine, 53 days of living away from family and friends is a true testament to their character and what representing the red and white is all about. We would also like to thank everyone that played a part in making this tournament happen. We all miss hockey and truly appreciate those that gave us something to cheer for in these difficult times." So certainly a warm sentiment, and that's really that testament that speaks to just the continued challenges that these talented youth players have to go through. And sure, it's not fair, they didn't ask for it, but it is what it is, and we've got to go with it. So that being said, Philip Tomasino said in a statement, in an article you can now find at the OntarioHockeyLeague.com, "We all bought in and pushed to be better. That's what I believe really made our team so special. It's always an honor to represent your country." So he is now with the Nashville Predators. I don't know that he made the roster, but if not, he will start in the American Hockey League, like all else. So just something to keep in mind. So again, we're going to, I think, now go into a couple of articles, just given that there isn't a whole lot else at this point to touch on. Again, no teams are able to update on anything at this point. So, we're just having to deal with this. And, I think that what's an important takeaway, and I think that Gene Pereira, who I believe reports on the Sudbury Wolves, no, Barry Colt, sorry, for Rogers TV, he hit on this perfectly, saying that no doubt the NHL getting green light here in Ontario is great news for OHL and hopes of returning to the ice, but I'm told revenue remains a key stumbling block as long as no fans allowed in stands. Province helping Junior League financially, similar to what Quebec Gov did, is key. Again, that would be for the bubble that I have heard about, with no further details on what those plans may look like. So, this is a challenge, but it is what it is. That being said, Arthur Kaliev, I don't know if he made the NHL roster, much like I believe Quinton Byfield, who did. He said the goal is to make the NHL. We'll see what happens. That we certainly will, as games start tonight and tomorrow in the National Hockey League for the 2021 shortened COVID-19 season. So, I think that really does it for, for most of this newsy stuff. But there's one last thing, and this was a trade from last week. So I will touch on that, and then we're going to move on to some articles and such. So two newsy things actually. Anyways, the Owen Sound Attack have acquired undrafted Nikita Tiatinkin in a minor deal with the Niagara Ice Dogs. Anyways, he's not an import, and he's a twin, and he's Russian. Just some background, and that's from Greg Cowan, who writes two seasons for the CIHA Green U18 in the H.E.R. In 2019-20, Tiatinkin scored 48 times and added 35 assists. Again, this is Tiatinkin, who scored 48 times and added 35 assists for 83 points in 45 games with CIHA Green U18 in the H.E.O. In the playoffs, Nikita found the back of the net 7 times, along with 7 helpers in just 4 games. Attack general manager Dale DeGray is excited about the addition for this season. Nikita is a big kid. He's 6'2", and he can shoot the puck. He's young, and he'll fit in nicely with our other O3s. We'll be looking for him to compete well in camp and bring some secondary scoring to the team. In exchange for Tiatinkin, Owen Sound have sent a conditional 15th round pick in 2023 to the Niagara Ice Dogs. So, just going around the horn with some final last minute things. Again, we all miss the Ontario Hockey League, and yes, this sucks, but got to make the most of it. And teams are preparing for the chance to return. Certainly. In the meantime, coaches like Mike McKenzie are finding other ways to do things, holding conference online for coaches to put a like minds together, just as a way to meet and again pick brains, just given the circumstances. So that being said, let's move along to my final note of the day, and this is Coach Peter Laviolette, who said on January 8th that 2019 first-round pick Connor McMichael should arrive from the World Juniors in the next day or two, which he has. Then he'd quarantine, thus missing the end of camp. So he's likely to be on the taxi squad, so they can at least see him in some practices. And in some situation, and then with that, we will find out if he will, be in the AHL until the OHL returns, in which he will return to the London Knights for 2021. So that being said, we're really just about done here. So I'm just going to go through a couple of stories at this point, and that should take us through the next 10 minutes, give or take. So again, this is a story on Giroux from the Saga Spirit. Damien Giroux staying busy and staying positive despite the challenges of this year. So anyone who has seen Damien Giroux play hockey or practice for that matter knows the Hanmer native makes the most of any opportunity. It's no surprise then that while the 20-year-old Minnesota Wild prospect has not seen any game action in months, he has been far from idle. Since wrapping up a COVID-19 shortened OHL season with the Saga Spirit back in March, the hardworking forward has continued to skate and to train with many of Greater Sudbury's best junior age players, including younger brother Zachary, through the fall and into winter in anticipation of the start of his professional hockey career. The lockdown lately has made it a little bit tough, of course, but we have been fortunate to be able to go out and skate when we can. Giroux told the Sudbury Star recently, "I've definitely been enjoying it." Having signed an entry-level contract back in March, the 5'10", 185-pounder would have joined the team in late summer for rookie camp, then made an appearance at main camp before his likely assignment to the Iowa Wild, Minnesota's top affiliate in the American Hockey League, to start the 2020-21 season. The pandemic has played havoc with sports schedules, however, forcing NHL clubs to trim their camp rosters and leaving prospects such as Giroux or former Wolves sniper Dmitry Sokolov on the outside looking in, at least for the time being. The AHL, meanwhile, also delayed its 2020-21 campaign and is currently targeting a start date of February the 5th. Giroux received a call on Monday night inviting him outdoor rink and taking some shots, trying to find ice whenever I can, or working out, Giroux said. We have a pretty good gym downstairs. so I go down there and work out with my brother, trying to keep busy as much as possible. Prior to the current lockdown, the Giroux boys were mainstays at local skates featuring OHLers, NCAA committed skaters, and high-end minor hockey players running several times each week. Damien has been one of the most experienced participants, having amassed 194 points in 249 regular season games in Sagana, more than half of those as captain. Once again, he embraced a leadership role, whether lending wisdom to up and coming talents or simply setting a good example in each practice session for his team. It's something I look forward to doing, he said. I'm learning at the higher level, and as I do get that opportunity to learn from guys who have been there a little longer, to be able to bring it back and teach my brother or just show him the ropes a little bit, I take a lot of pride in that, to be able to go through that process. His advice is simple, if not always easy to carry out. And to that, he said, like I said, it's all about wanting to get better every day. And that's all I have been trying to focus, taking care of all the little details. I think if you find something you're passionate about, you've got to pursue it as much as you can and to be very dedicated to whatever that is. So that's from Ben Leeson of postmedia.ca. Touching on Giroux, who is finally getting some sort of opportunity to play despite these certainly challenging and unprecedented times in the world that have made life ultimately a struggle. So that is what that is, and just gotta go with it. And we're gonna get out of this together, and we're gonna get on with real sports the way real sports were meant to be. So anyways, that being said, another story from Ben Leeson of Post Media. This is on on several Wolves prospects progressing well in the CCHL, including David Goyette, Sudbury forward, who was taken to the ice there just to get in some ice time. Again, given the many challenges that we're being faced with. So I'll read the portion on David Goyette, again, who is an up and coming player. Just trying to make his way through these challenges and onwards and upwards. So a dangerous shooter and a slick playmaker, the 11th overall pick in the 2020 OHL priority selection, committed months ago to playing in Sudbury, but has since joined his hometown Hawks on a temporary basis and has certainly made a positive impression. The 16-year-old recorded assists in back-to-back games for Hawkesbury before notching a hat trick in a win over Rockland on December 13th. That follows eye-catching totals of 49 goals and 104 assists in 65 games with the South Kent Selects Academy last season. He said, I had a great conversation with his GM, Rick Dorval, and he couldn't say enough good things about Goyette. Always first in line for drills, always willing to learn, and his work ethic is off the chart. DeFazio said, I assume that is the GM of the team. They were just so impressed for such a skilled guy to be working so hard. Dorval acknowledged that Goyette was a little snake bitten early, DeFazio said, but said the youngster was working through it. That conversation was before the hat trick, DeFazio added with a chuckle. He said it's going to happen real soon, though, because he keeps working. His character is unbelievable, and he's going to be a breakthrough. A couple of days later, he texted me back and said, I told you so. So many other of these names are not familiar, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time touching on them. But again, a lot of progression when it comes to Junior A with players of the Wolves, both current and future in the CCHL and other Junior A leagues such as the NOJHL. Just until we figure out again what this season has in store, and this season certainly is a unique one to say the very least. So we'll have to see what the final results look like, and a lot of it we're going to see tonight when the NHL season officially begins, and which players have made it and which have not. Anyways, so some last minute notes, I guess, is that you look at teams who have veterans of their teams performing at different stages. And so for the Kitchener Rangers, again, they don't have someone like Thomas Harley up at a different stage, aside from Jacob Ingham, who may or may not start the season. I don't think he actually will start the season at the AHL level. He's with the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, I believe, that in the ECHL, alongside former Ranger Frank Hora and Greg Morales as well. So some nice OHL connection there at the minor pro level, while the AHL waits to return just in hand with the NHL. But that other than that, there's really not a whole lot to touch on. So I'm going to quickly check in with Josh Brown from the Waterloo Region Record and see what else might be going on. But it doesn't really appear there's a whole lot. I will note that he wrote, "It's time for the Canadian Hockey League to rethink how it's going to handle this year's premier junior hockey March Madness event." And again, March Madness event, more like the Memorial Cup weekend. So, anyways, if there was ever a year for the CHL to change the Memorial Cup format, this is it. A March Madness knockout bracket would be exciting as something. He writes, with COVID-19 wreaking havoc at the rinks, he says, to tinker with it, it certainly would not be a bad idea. So other than that, there really isn't a whole lot to touch on. So, if you think you're a Kitchener Rangers hockey fan, there is an article for you to test that knowledge at therecord.com. Meanwhile, there's a story from Josh Brown from prior to the holidays, saying, "From contender to fan," talking about Kitchener Rangers defenseman Donovan Sabrango, who came oh so close to making Canada's World Junior team. In a short statement, Sabrango said, "It was a long walk down to the lobby. I kind of figured by the time I got down there, it wasn't going to be a positive conversation." Those who did, again, were informed by their parents, and those who didn't were sent home together to figure out where they can go next. So here's what's really interesting, though, and I wonder why this was, but Kitchener Rangers assistant coach Andreas Carlson actually denied chance to help Sweden at the World Juniors, and so that's why they went to a coach at the University of Vermont instead to help via video. And so I'm going to see if I can open this video. Again, not something you'd expect to hear a whole lot, but he will spoil his chance to return to tourney a second time. I don't think he will be getting the chance to return a second time. Again, back in 1995, the Kitchener Rangers assistant coach helped the squad secure a bronze medal as a player at the tournament held in various towns in Alberta, and he almost got the chance to step up for Sweden for the second time in 25 years, but that's not going to happen. So it's unfortunate, but it was also a choice of his. So it is what it is. That was Todd Woodcroft from UVM who took over for him, doing video remotely to help them. As again, much like other tournaments and stuff going on, the World Juniors could only let a certain amount of players in the bubble at Rogers Place in Edmonton per team. So just a couple of quick things to make notes of. So, you know, not really a whole lot else is going on in the Ontario Hockey League. Make sure you are following me for continuous updates on the OHL as I cover the Mississauga Steelheads and Kitchener Rangers. So any updates, again, at Justin Levine HBS on Twitter and at thepuckauthority.com with stories on the Kitchener Rangers of all sorts. Hoping to have Mike McKenzie on an upcoming episode of the Planet Prospects podcast and or the Puck Authority podcast, hopefully in the coming weeks, just given that there isn't exactly a plan in place for the season to unravel for him to focus on. But other than that, make sure you visit the LA Kings on Twitter at LA Kings. Arthur Kaliev talked about using a longer break to his advantage. Again, that is at LA Kings Twitter and LAKings.com to hear from him in length. About his experience from the World Juniors to the delayed OHL season to now being with the LA Kings and what that's going to afford him, among other things, I'm sure, such as his World Juniors experience. There's a cap of that on the Hamilton Bulldogs website. And then, other than that, these players, they just want to play. And Kaliev looks like he's game ready. And so I would imagine that he will start in the American Hockey League at the very least to start this year. So, we'll have to see what happens. But certainly, despite the challenge and the not being able to play OHL right now, these players are figuring it out in their own unique and different ways. And we're gonna have to see what goes with it. Jan Mysick, I know, did not return to camp for the Montreal Canadiens. Neither did Cole Caulfield, on other housekeeping notes to wrap today's episode. So, we are going to see more and more players start returning very slowly. Anyways, last minute note here. It seems as if Quinton Byfield got cut from the Los Angeles Kings, which I don't think anyone expected. So we're gonna have to wait and see if that's true. Certainly unfortunate if that is true. it's just something that happens, and that's unfortunately that's life. So he'll be back with the Sudbury Wolves for the start of the season. If he doesn't make the AHL roster, though I'd assume he would. I just don't think that I saw that happening today. When I say that happening, I mean him not making the roster. And I think that as a second overall pick, I don't think a lot of other people saw that as happening. So, it is what it is. Again, this is life when it comes to hockey, and just kind of, going with it and figuring it out. So, anyways, that really wraps today's episode of the OHL experience. There's about nothing else at this point to touch on. Just make sure you are watching out for these young players who are on rosters for the start of the NHL season again, which starts tonight for some and tomorrow for others, such as the New Jersey Devils, New York Rangers, who start tomorrow, along with, I believe, the Arizona Coyotes, who start tomorrow. But there are some games that start tonight. And we start with the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So very exciting. Anyways, an update from Greg Wyshynski. The Los Angeles Kings have sent Quinton Byfield and Arthur Kaliev both to the Ontario Reign of the AHL, while Alex Turcotte is listed as injured, non-rostered. So but maybe that gives them extra time to figure out a bubble and financial backing. So again, and again, no idea details. I will continue to provide as I learn them. Anyways, there is one potential location that I have heard, but I'm not going to reveal that just yet because other details are not yet known. But that being said, there have been challenges, but maybe this lockdown that started at 12:01 today will present the Ontario Hockey League with enough time to figure this out. And if they do, fantastic. That's exactly what they'd be looking for. So, we'll see where that goes, if it goes anywhere. But again, these players at least are going to get to develop somehow. I will finish up in noting that head coach McClellan noted on Byfield, he was impressive the first 2 days of camp. He fit in very well with his teammates. He fit in very well, and his teammates are excited about having him here. So they'll certainly be excited about having him with the Ontario Reign now that he hasn't made the Los Angeles Kings roster for opening night in the NHL. But other than that, not a whole lot of surprise with other decisions. Teams are getting in their final practices with their young players. Alexis Lafreniere, again, likely to be with the New York Rangers for opening night tonight after spending the entire offseason in New York to get his feet under him, hence not joining Team Canada at the World Junior Championship in Edmonton, Alberta. So that does it for me again. My name is Justin Levine from the OHL Experience right here on the BarnBurner TV Network and Zingo TV channel 250. Make sure you are tuning in every Wednesday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time to get your daily or weekly roundup, I should say, on the going-ons from around the Canadian Hockey League. Follow me on Twitter at Justin Levine HBS, and then follow the OHL at Ontario Hockey League, which I believe is the OHL official, and then OntarioHockeyLeague.com, WesternHockeyLeague.com, and QMJHL.com for all your updates as we try and get back to something near normal and get these players back on the ice and back to hockey as we knew it. My name is Justin Levine from the OHL Experience.